1, 2. All right. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. This is Jamil Salib Zamir out of Manning, South Carolina. As promised, I would be back on with you with another timely subject. I want to thank all of the platforms. I'm on 3 different Facebook pages tonight. I'm on linked tonight because this pertains to business and business opportunities and how we treat people in business. I am also on the YouTube channel. I want to personally thank everyone on the YouTube channel for bringing the numbers up really, really good, and also for bringing the views up, but also for bringing the subscriptions up 20 points off of the last broadcast about Are Black People Cursed. We also talked about the Bible and how the Bible has different levels to it. And we talked about the 7 levels of the Bible and how most people are constantly on the first level of generalized understanding of the book. 75% of the Bible is prophecy. 25% is, oh, wow. How do you put it? I'm going to be looking for that while I'm talking. But I thank you for tuning in today. And if you could stay with me for a little while, that would be great, because we got 3 topics we want to discuss today. One is critical race theory. Again, we've done 2 subjects on critical race theory, but this is in the classroom now in South Carolina with the situation that occurred. Also, misguided feminism, and also the Judas complex. So we want to talk about those 3 things today, and then get off if we can, God willing, because of Bible is because I'm tired. I really am, and my mind is moving slow. And I really wish that I had a co-host, a real sincere co-host that study and want to share information that has been studied, not just opinionated information. Although opinionated broadcasts are the hottest things out now, we're basing our lives on people's misguided opinions and the word is right on the tip of my tongue, verified opinions. So we're going to go into this today. I'm going to take my time with it. As always, give me an hour. I want to thank again the 3 Facebook pages linked, YouTube. We're also broadcasting on X or Twitter, and I'm also on the Instagram page. And I thank all of you for tuning in. We're going to talk about these subjects today and try to bring some clarity to some of it, how Satan works, how the Bible is telling us about how Satan operates, that we are wrestling against principalities. We're wrestling against things that are of more powerful than the knowledge that we have, and properly understanding that no matter what knowledge we receive in this world, that knowledge is for the upliftment, the upkeep, and the advancement of this world. So no matter what knowledge we receive, it is for the advancement of this world. That is not a insult or to downplay a person's achievements, but the scripture says that this is Satan's world. And if we are believers in the scripture, then we should study that idea much more and bring it into to the reality of how we think. So we're going to go into these 3 subjects today, and then God willing, we will be done. But as always, I always start off with something that I just throw out there and kind of leave it out there for a minute before we start the broadcast. I'm at a point in my life where, well, I've always been this way. I've always been able to look a person in their eyes and tell them, by God's permission, how I felt. But when you're talking to a person and they're not listening or not feeling as if though what you're saying is important, then you don't get your point across. Now, the next time you see that person, you may be a little bit more aggravated, because I told you this once before. Now I'm telling you again. The next time, it may be a hostile situation, and you don't want it to come to that, because honestly, I don't do jail. I don't want to do jail. And honestly, in the scenario of a gunfight, and I've always been an advocate of being able to carry a gun responsibly. I carry a gun responsibly. But before I can pull that gun out of my waistband or my holster, I'm playing the life of the person that I feel threatened by. I'm playing their life through my mind. They got children, they got a family. This is not worth dying over. And before I can pull a trigger, 9 times out of 10, you probably take my life. So I don't want to get involved with that either. So the way that I handle situations is this: researching, bringing it to the forefront, making a point to point out the things that I have that are of a concern to myself and maybe of the community. So I thank you all for tuning in today. We're going to go into the subject. First point, critical race theory. Something happened in South Carolina, and I want to read it if I can find it. I'm hoping that I can. Yeah, I'm hoping that I can. Anyway, there is a teacher. They don't specify whether she is black or white. Yeah, I want to put this up right here. Here it is. Let me put this up. I want this to take precedence over my picture. And usually when I put these things up, my screen started jumping and skipping. But I want to start off with this point. We're on the discussion of critical race theory. The headlines in the Newsbreak Vibe says South Carolina teacher reported by students for teaching Ta-Nehisi Coates' book. Now I want to read this real quickly pertaining to critical race theory and how racist whites, how elitist whites, how those whites who realize that they are continuously benefiting off of the ignorance of black people and sometimes off of the ignorance of their own people. Now, I know many of you have white girlfriends, white wives, white husbands, white friends that you like. See, the levels where we talk about the Bible being on levels, the levels of these issues, we stay at the bottom of these levels. We never go to the top of these levels or the middle of these levels and understand that when a person is talking about race, about sex, about gender, about situations, they're not necessarily talking about you, but we're talking about the situation, and we must put it into perspective. Here's the situation. White people benefited for years, 400 and to be exact. 100 years is a decade or a century. 20th century, a decade, 100 years, 400 and some odd years, they benefited off of our free labor. Those whites who are now the children of the slave masters, you will say, well, it wasn't me that did it, my parents did it. But our argument is, and it is a legitimately based argument, it is that you benefit from what your parents did to us, but we don't benefit. We're still in the cycle of white supremacy, black inferiority, but you're still in the cycle of white supremacy, systematic racism, and you still benefit because of your whiteness. The table turned when you are Caucasian in this country. When there's a house up for rent and a white couple a black couple can come first to get it with the money, with the credentials. And then a white couple comes, maybe without the money, but with credit, but their whiteness makes them more eligible to receive that home than that black person. So that racism is still relevant. We're talking about critical race theory and what occurred in a South Carolina school. That is the first thing we're talking about. We didn't even get into the intro yet. A South Carolina teacher was reported by her students for teaching Ta-Nehisi Coates Between the World and Me. Now, this book that he wrote, Between the World and Me, was a book that he wrote for his children about his pain, his suffering in systematic racism, about the unjust murders of black men, black women, about slavery, and about how to prepare yourselves for systematic racism. So the teacher was reading that book in hopes that the children would understand our place in white America. According to the Washington Post, English teacher Mary Wood sought to teach her all-white class about what it means to be black in America using Coates literature. However, she was reported by two of her students. They notified the school board that Wood was attempting to discuss race in the classroom. Yet you are able to discuss gender in the classroom. We coming to a point, if you hang on tight. We're 11 minutes in. You can discuss gender in the classroom. You can tell a 5-year-old child, if you feel that even though you're a male, if you feel like you're a female, then be that. You can encourage a child to change their gender and then attack the parent if the parent says no, they're a boy, they're going to stay a boy. We coming to a point. This has nothing to do with homophobia or any of that. That's why we must elevate our understanding of topics of discussion so that we don't stay on a flat level when it comes to topics of discussion. The students wrote in emails that the book made them ashamed to be white. The outlet documented her lessons violates a South Carolina proviso that forbids teachers from making students feel discomfort, guilt, anguish, or any other form of psychological distress on account of their race. Did you hear what I just said? South Carolina proviso or provision, I would assume, that forbids teachers from teaching students feeling discomfort, guilt, anguish, or any other form of psychological distress on account of their race. Now, if the teacher were talking about blacks, see, not too many black students would write to the school board. So we don't even carry that intelligence. We don't care about nothing. But these white students are utilizing this new critical race theory idea. It's not a theory, it's a fact. So you can no longer teach fact in the classroom. Students also expressed that reading Coates' book felt like reading hate propaganda towards white people. As I stated earlier, and in my introduction, white folks don't want us to be upset, angry, vengeful towards them for what they did to our parents and what put us in this state that we're in at this point. So we are expected to swallow the post-traumatic slavery disorder, the stress of the transatlantic slave trade, the stress of abuse, the stress of horrific murder and torture, the stress of being forced to sleep with your mama, your cousin, your sister, to produce children for white folks to make more money tax-free. We are supposed to bear the burden of that. Meanwhile, they write into law that reading this book, what they consider hate propaganda towards whites. Then it states in quotes, I understand AP Lang, we are learning to develop an argument and have evidence to support it. Yes, yet this topic is too heavy to discuss. Another student wrote to the board, I actually felt ashamed to be Caucasian. Good, you felt ashamed to be the child of a murderous Caucasian grandparent who enslaved the people and waxed rich off of our labor. And now we are supposed to forget all of that and just go along to get along, or else we'll be considered provocateurs in this critical race theory idea. So more and more we're being told to just grin and bear it. So that white folks won't feel guilty about what their parents did to us. Yet we suffer in the ghetto and we don't even realize we're suffering because we think we're having a good time. Self-hatred is at an all-time high. What about that? So, after receiving complaints, school administrators demanded Mary Woods stop teaching the lesson. The administration sent her a formal letter of reprimand and also placed a copy on her file. In other words, you're going to lose your job. And the harsh part about this critical race theory is they don't even have to use this. Black folks are afraid to talk black about black issues unless everybody doing it. Black folks are afraid to discuss how white folks treat us unless everybody doing it. Black folks are afraid and ashamed to talk about slavery because they think we were weak. So we're put in this box where we can't even express our anger, frustration, disappointment in this country towards our people. And if we do, we're made to be put on file. They're made to feel, I feel guilty because you told me that my great grandfather murdered blacks and enslaved blacks and I got and raped blacks and that I'm wealthy. My last name is wealthy because of what they did. I feel guilty, but you just a guilty rich cracker. Meanwhile, the knickers still broke, still confused, still unable to express themselves in the ghetto, express themselves through self-hatred that will never be addressed because now we can no longer talk about it. So when a black boy gets a gun and he sees that he's nothing, he feels like he's nothing, he's killing nothing. That topic, that subject is not talked about, is not addressed. But oh, we can rap and sing and twerk, all of that's okay, because that is the ignorance that has us in the condition that we are in. Not only that, the ignorance of the first level of religion that we refuse to go any higher in, the first level of politics that we still think because a black person is in a position, they're gonna work towards making things equal for black people. That's a lie. Critical race theory. White folks are afraid of the retaliation that has been ordained by God for what they did. In closing, I want to read this. This is a statement from Thomas Jefferson. Now, Thomas Jefferson created a seal that was supposed to be the United States seal, but they changed the seal. I want to show you the seal first. Now, this seal says, rebellion to tyrants is obedience to God. And you see Pharaoh, white, and his people drowning in a sea. And you see Moses, who appears to be black, and the Hebrew children. And you see a pillar of fire over them, protecting them. And you see rebellion to tyrants is obedience to God. This is the seal that Thomas Jefferson wanted to have as the seal. I'm going to read it so I don't make a mistake. It says the seal picture is to the right, not this seal, but the first known copy of the seal on a letter. This is something. Rebellion to tyrants is obedience to God was a motto suggested but not used for the seal of the United States. Jefferson eventually appropriated it for his own seal. The source of the motto, as used by Jefferson, is likely Benjamin Franklin's words. But check this out. That's the seal. And this is what has been said. Indeed, I tremble for my country when I reflect that God is just, that his justice cannot sleep forever, that considering numbers, nature, and natural means only, a revolution of the wheel of fortune, an exchange of situations is among possible events, that it may become a probable by supernatural interference. Thomas Jefferson notes on the state of Virginia. The state of Virginia was high in slavery. Thomas Jefferson, although he had slaves, always was an advocate against slaves, a total hypocrite. Now they don't want none of this to be taught to the people. But Thomas Jefferson said that he feared that a supernatural force would change the course of the history of Caucasian people. So I asked the question, are white folks afraid of retaliation? Are they afraid of God's wrath? Yes, they are. They're very much afraid of it. And that is why the elite whites are attacking what they consider woke and are attacking with what they have created, critical race theory. Now, you married to a white person, you got white friends, that has nothing to do. Get on a higher level of understanding so we can stop being so small. Most of your white friends don't have a clue of what I'm talking about. Most of your white buddies don't even know what critical race theory is or what occurred during slavery. And if they do know it, they placate it. And you're not going to talk about it to them because you're afraid as a black man to talk to another man about your history, but you will sit there for hours and listen to what they got to say about you, about them and their life to you. So my warning about this particular subject, then we're going to move on, is that supernatural force of interference that Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin and others feared would come to exact justice for an ignorant people. It's here. And no matter how we try to fix the situation, God is in control now. Has nothing to do with fighting whites or going against God is handling it now. So the same pain and suffering on a more sophisticated level, white folks will go through with their children. Our hands ain't gonna touch it. But your children are gonna rebel against you because they're gonna know what you did to us, as they should know. But your chess move on the grand chessboard was the creation of critical race theory, as if though that would protect you for 100 more years as you plan your next strategic move to get rid of black people altogether. It's already started. Why do you think all these people are being allowed into the country from Venezuela and Mexico? Why do you think they are being given vouchers for homes and you've been living here all your life, and most people and homeless people on the streets never been given a voucher? Why do you think they're being given vouchers to work? Because we no longer want to do the work. So now they got to bring in a brand new group of people who will appreciate the money and the work. So as a people, we are being erased in more than one way. Through organizations, through politics, through money, through critical race theory, through religion. We are being through sexual preference, through gang violence, through medical procedures, through poison foods, through poison chemicals. Our women are being poisoned within 10 years of you using these chemicals in your hair, your eyelashes, your skin, the tattoos, the perfumes, all of these things. You will have ovarian cancer or kidney cancer, guaranteed. So critical race theory is not just an attack on black knowledge in books in school. It's to eviscerate blackness altogether. they are also including the LGBTQ agenda to erase the black struggle. Because black people, hold on a minute. Because black people are afraid to speak on anything out of fear. We'll kill each other. We'll fight each other, beat each other to death. We'll do all of that. We'll sell drugs. We'll do all of that. But we are afraid to attack the issue because we're afraid of losing our jobs, our homes. We're still in the same system. Do you understand me? But Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin and those, they understood that. It was a warning for future generations to change things and do better. But instead, they went deeper into manipulation, and now they want to hide it. And now they're training their children to tell on their own race, on their own people, on black people, on whoever. Tell on them if they try to teach you about blackness. This is where we are. It's a subject that no one wants to talk about, but I want, about 10 years ago, I started a commentary about being gay was a gift from God, because these preachers were on the Oprah Winfrey show, and one of them said that being gay was a gift from God. Now that's a slippery slope, because the word gay, means happy and joyful and jubilant. But was he talking gay or homosexual? And then Oprah Winfrey and Gail and the likes of them were employed to attack black men and destroy black image. Did it to Michael Jackson, did it to R. Kelly, did it to Bill Cosby, but didn't do it to Epstein and Weinstein and others. They didn't do it. So we're being attacked. This, what I'm talking about, is going to go right into the feminine mystique. And it's going to go right into the misguided feminist and the breakup of the black family. We're going right along. We're 27 minutes in. So whether I say it or not, I have no control over God. God does as he please. But I know for a fact that God is real. And I know for a fact that God is not mocked. And I know for a fact that God is just. And I know for a fact that what occurred to black people must be answered for, because we won't pick up the baton of trying to figure out what happened and how to address it and adjust it, because we fell in love with this wicked world. We fell in love with the liquor, the drugs, the clothes, the sex. We love it. So we're not going to leave it. And if given a choice to choose God or the world, we will choose the world. An example of that is in the Bible, when Pontius Pilate put two people on the stand of justice and asked the crowd who they would choose. Would they choose Barnabas or Barabbas or Barbados or whatever his name was, starts with the B, who was a criminal? Or would they choose Christ, who had done nothing wrong but came to teach the truth? And the people chose the criminal. So now you have violent criminals in prison for violent crimes, and the people say what? Free my knucker so-and-so. Even though he committed the crime, just free him. Never mind what he did and the families he affected. It ain't my family. Plus, that's my knucker. We're going somewhere with this now. I thank you for tuning in. We didn't even do the intro. This is Jamil Salib Zamir out of Manning, South Carolina. The three subjects today: critical race theory, misguided feminism, and then the black Judas. We talked about Judas and the Black Messiah before. And when I talked about that, I was talking about someone who was pretending to be a friend to me at the time, who had already been revealed to me that they were up to no good. And I had to let that situation play itself out, because people think you're a bad guy when you start talking about how you feel, your heart telling you something. I had to let it play itself out, and it did. And it came to its peak. I saw a video of someone that I helped to get a day established, to get an event established. And I saw that person wanting to be the great one. I had no desire to be great, but I did have a desire to get the message out with what we were doing from an organic grassroots level. And so I put forth the effort to do that. But I talked about Judas and the Messiah 5-6 years ago, because I knew this day was coming. And it has come full circle, because the person has proven themselves to be a Judas. You know some Judases. The people who try to do right are being abused by Judases. But let's go into the misguided feminism. And I did not do my intro, so I will be right back after this message. Okay, I am back. I really sincerely want to thank Almighty God for his mercy and grace. I had felt so bad for the last week. I was put on 2 different medications. I'm so tired and I'm so dizzy in my head, and my equilibrium is off. And of course, my back, I'm rubbing bone on bone, and everything is, man, I feel like I got 2 or 3 days left on this earth the way I feel. But I want to thank God for his mercy in allowing me to celebrate life every day. And I don't take any day, moment of time for granted. And I'm more comfortable when I'm working towards building. And I don't have time, even if it's my own children or family who are in this gossip and all this extra stuff and confusion. Do your part so that life can be easier in the family unit. And so I want to talk about the misguided feminist for a minute. Now, I was given a book in 1988 in New York, written by Betty Friedman. I think it was called The Feminine Mystique. I'd gone to New York to really just be a New Yorker. But my uncle, God bless his soul, sat me down, said, "You're green, you're going to end up getting yourself killed." Then my aunt, God rest her soul, got me a job in a law firm, and my life went totally the other way. I met people who read books. I never was a great reader until I went to New York. And the first book that I was given from a young man named Kevin, older than me, but he was encouraging me to read. He gave me a book, The Feminine Mystique, and he gave it to me in a Ziploc bag. And I couldn't stop laughing, like, what, you want the book to stay fresh? And he was explaining to me the importance of taking care of books. And so I fell in love with books and knowledge. So The Feminine Mystique was it was this Caucasian white housewife, when they started rebelling against being at home and burning their bras and just they stopped thinking about the children so much and started thinking about what they wanted to do, and they were oppressed. But Betty Friedman did not include, and this is one of the criticisms of her book, she did not include Black women in her writing because we were not considered humans. So she was talking about white women. And if you see some of the pictures, there's a white woman with a scarf on her head, and they're working in the train factory, and she's muscled up and getting white women into the workplace. What white people were fighting for, white women in their families, feminism, black women weren't even thinking about, because you weren't even allowed to be a woman at that time. You were a piece of property. Mr. Johnson could lay with you, rub on you, his children could sleep with you, whatever they wanted to do, you were not even human. But what happened to us is that we began to unidentify black females with black men, and identify with white men as your father. If you remember Alex Haley Roots, when Kunta came to get his queen Fanta from the slave master, he ran away from his slave, found her, and said, "We going back home. Allah will take care of us." She said, "I don't want to hear about no Allah. I don't want to hear about no king, queen, nothing. Master so-and-so is my master." And it got so bad that when he tried to take her, she sold him out and got his foot cut off because they captured him. That is the psychological damage done to black women. Black women who are now taking on the role of feminist. But misguided feminism will cause the destruction of the family unit. I'm going to say that again. Quote, misguided, end quote, quote, misguided feminism, end quote, will cause the destruction of the already dysfunctional black family unit. There's nothing wrong with you, black woman, being a feminist, taking on the title of feminist. I'm going to say it again. There's nothing wrong with that. Because yes, you all were deprived of positions, higher paying positions, deprived of enjoying life to a degree. A lot of reasons you should be deprived of standing behind the pulpit to teach God's word. Deprived of knowing God. Not deprived by whites, but deprived by black men. So feminism was necessary. But misguided feminism destroys the family, because now you are taking on the position of a man. And the scripture says, do not usurp authority in the church. There no building church, the family church, the internal personal church. Don't allow your feminine desires to take over the church. Do not force your position. Yes, woman, you are powerful. Black woman, exceedingly powerful, but you're not a feminist when it comes to whites, especially not white men, because everything they tell you is good, you take it. You dress the way they tell you to dress. You eat the way they tell you to eat. You put all these chemicals in your body that are not in agreement with the melanated nature of our structure. You get a higher paying job and they're paying you. You come home and tell your man, I don't need you. I make more money than you. And if you can't match my salary, which he cannot do unless he's half killing himself. So you begin to have discussions, misguided feministic discussions among other women after you have children, whether it is a male or a female. If you're talking down about black men in front of a female child, why would she want to get a man? So you're creating the atmosphere for lesbianism. That's why our children at 5, 4, and 3, and 2, and 10 are saying they are lesbian. They identify as binary or whatever. Anything other than a woman needing a man. Misguided feminism. And if you have a male child listening to you talk about men that way, why would he want to be a man? So the next thing you know, his wrist broke. He want to polish his nails like you. He want to get his, he want to be like you because your image is so powerful. But you didn't create that. That was created for you in this world. Where do you work? Who pays you? Whether you work for yourself or not, who do you get your grants and loans from? How did you organize yourself? I'm not trying to downplay your importance. Woman, listen to me. White women don't down their husbands like and boyfriends and men like you do, black women. And your words are powerful. You are the universe. You are the she. You are the producer of generations. So this misguided feminism gives females power like misguided men, boys with guns have power. They shoot bullets. You shoot words and actions and destroy young men and young women with your personal feelings. And you talk feminism with such zeal and vigor. That the power in your words changes your minds, your thoughts, and your heart. And your vagina begin to pulse like a man's penis. And now you want to take on the role of a man and dominate a female. This all by design. It takes the attention away from the black struggle because you all think we've made it. We're sergeants and captains. We got houses in the Bahamas, houses in America, houses, 4-5 houses. We got cars, but that has nothing to do with the psychological state and the family dynamic. Let me show you something real quick if I can. Let me get this up on the screen. I did a commentary entitled Gay is the New Black. Gay is the new black. And I said, by God's permission some years ago, that they would take the gay agenda. People have been gay, even in what y'all call Africa, Akibulan. There was homosexuality there and all over the world prior to now. This isn't new, but they've repackaged it and presented to us as new. And we love new shiny stuff. So we accept it and we fight for it. And the old things, because we forget so fast, we don't even think about anymore. So I did a commentary about gay and the new black, the propaganda of homosexuality. I'm not homophobic. My son is 17, and his godfather has been a homosexual all of his life. My son's godfather. I don't mind leaving him with his godfather. We chose his godfather because he's a gentleman. If that makes any sense. He's homosexual, he's gay, but he's masculine. And he's a great teacher to young men, but he's not going to force his views on anybody. In fact, he said, I know I'm going to have to answer to God for being how I am, but this is how I am. I can accept that. But now, not only are they that way, but they've devised a system to bombard our children with it and confuse them. On top of the feminism and the critical race theory idea, they are going to destroy black people. We will become non-existent, a minority under the minority, because those coming from Venezuela, 310,000 or 100,000 on trains and buses, they coming to take our spot because we've become too uppity and we're demanding reparations for our time, and we're not going to get it. And we didn't take the time to become intelligent enough, wise enough to build communities that we can survive. No, we're going to be pushed into ghettos where we kill each other. So I wanted to show you this, what they're promoting now on the internet. Just some of the topics. Gay is the new black. Gay is the new black. Is gay the new black? Gay is the new black. Gay is the new black. Black men holding up gay is the, haven't even gotten to the point of understanding blackness yet. But propaganda and control. We war not against flesh and blood. We war against principalities and spiritual wickedness in high places. So in your churches, pastor gay, the congregation is gay. You never knew that, but now it's flamboyant. So misguided feminism. And I wanted to add this at the end, but the feminist movement is not just for women. Sympathizers, men who sympathize with the feminine nature, are also on board. We're in a situation. 46 minutes in, I want to close on this. Judas. How Judas operates. I posted up a post yesterday about don't waste your time being nice, because you can be nice to a snake. If he's hurt, you can take care of the snake, nurse it back to health, feed it rats in a cage, and that snake will turn around and bite you. And the response would be, of course, why are you angry at me? I'm a snake. You know I was a snake when you picked me up on the side of the road. The Bible opens with the situation with the serpent and the slithering belly crawler who will use other people for their own agenda and for attention. These people will lie, cheat, and steal and destroy people and cause trouble just to be looked upon as something of value. Although they have nothing to offer, with the exception of maybe a situation, but no talent, no gift, no nothing that they have worked on to build and offer it as a means to grow. Just their mouth and their silver tongue and their ability to lie and pretend and forget and never apologize. And what this Judas spirit has caused in our communities, in our race, in our families, it has caused conflict and it has caused separation. It has caused great damage because children are lying to their parents and doing something opposite of what they were taught, and then never apologizing, but the parent has to deal with it. And that's why I read this critical race theory first, because the people who are doing right in this new world will be the wrong people. The criminals will get off with the crime. The teacher trying to teach will be seen as the guilty party. The Jesus in the community will be thrown into prison, and the criminals will be allowed to roam free. And the weak people will speak no words against what's going on. They just go with the flow. And the others, they give you a good time. These three things, what is happening with critical race, what is happening with misguided feminism, and what is happening with those who sell us out. I mean, I had people around me that I put my heart into because that's my nature. And they will say, and family too, will talk about you like a dog. and never apologize. They will sit and wait for something to happen in your life so they can say, see, told you, I told you. And these people think that God is not just. White, black, red, brown, or yellow, Republican or Democrat, or in between or indifferent. God has to take over now because man has failed. Man will fight a fight until he gets a piece of the pie of what he's fighting, and then he will integrate with it. I've seen it happen. I've seen politicians become slumlords and don't care at it. Once they get a piece of the pie, they will sell you down the river. Your children will sell you down the river. Your husband, your wife. It's all playing out. And we got at least 20 to 25 to 30 or maybe even 100 more years of this going on until it reaches the point where the people beg God for mercy. 51 minutes in, we did very good. I thank you all for tuning in, or whoever will tune in. I thank you on YouTube for your building our numbers up and leaving questions and comments. And I tried to get to all of them. And I'm not going to get into no debate with you, especially if you make a comment that's not even relevant to what I said. That's telling me you didn't listen. And looking at the analytics of my page, I can tell the average listening time is about 5 seconds. People, you may see a lot of clicks, 20, 30 clicks, and they say 20 views, 30 views, 50 views, but they only look at my broadcast for about 5 seconds and click right off. Because I'm not the entertainer. I'm not the guy saying that it's okay to do whatever you're doing. I'm afraid of God. I really am. And respecting God. I respect God. I'm not talking about some spook out in the sky or some white image with blonde hair. I'm talking about something way bigger than that. A universal order that says this will do this, but there's patience is required, and most of us don't have that. So when we get in a situation that frightens us because we've never been there, you know what we do? We turn right back around. I was happier when I was over there. Isn't that what they said in the Bible when God sent Moses to free the Hebrew children and promised them something great and prove to them that it was there? We need to go back to Pharaoh, because Pharaoh, he was treating us bad, but at least we know. That's us. We don't have the ability to step out, and white folks, elite whites, know that. That's this good old boy system that only God can penetrate and destroy, and he will. He must. If God cannot beat the biggest of big mafia bosses, white supremacists, then what's the use of knowing God? There's no use. He can't do nothing. So our prayer should be for patience and perseverance and the ability to see God at work. Because once Satan gets a stronghold, he don't turn around. He don't apologize. He don't feel remorse. Just does what he does. He's the snake that says, why did you help me? You know I was going to bite you. So I thank everybody for tuning in on Facebook and on YouTube and Linked and X and also on Instagram. And I understand that even though we are reaching the point where we are about to become obsolete, unfortunately, we're not ready for truth yet. The Bible puts it like this: tell us lies. That's what it says. The people said to the seers. Let me see if I can find that in closing. Said to the seers, tell us lies. Let me see if I can find that in the Bible in closing. And we'll close on that. Isaiah 30:10. I'm going to put that up on the board for you. So, sometimes y'all think I'm a nut. But look at what it says. They say to the seers, see no more visions. And to the prophets, give us no more visions of what is right. Tell us pleasant things, prophesy illusions. So, what is the bulk of life now? It's an illusion. Fake hair, fake eyelashes, fake butt, fake lips, fake sexual desires, fake love, fake everything. My son was talking about a book from Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I talked about that book and how it was designed for us to find our place in Satan's world. And that's what it is. How to play Satan's game. Dale Carnegie, and win. And we're desperate because we're tired of pain and suffering. So we'll turn to anything, or we want to turn back. So I caution any of you who have, if you started the journey, keep walking forward, because going back is going to be very difficult for you. I was talking to my son, and I wasn't going to give him my view of what I know was happening. You got to make your own choice in this thing. I made mine. Everybody got to make their own choice. The Holy Quran and Bible says no man can suffer another man's burdens for him. You must suffer those for yourself. Make choices for yourself. We talked about critical race. It's being used against us. We talked about misguided feminism. It's being used against us. It's like in Tyler Perry's movie when the gentleman had the two girlfriends and the ex-wife was steady talking trash about this my salon, and he had to remind her that my football career is what got you that salon. See, Tyler Perry is wise in the way he teaches. Gay or straight or in between. There's wisdom in his movies. We talked about the feminine mystique, how the misguided feminism is continuously destroying the nuclear family. And we talked about Judas and the Messiah. And Judas was so self-righteous that Jesus was telling him, yeah, you're gonna betray me. Peter denied him, but Judas betrayed him. And he didn't just betray him and hide behind a tree and say, yeah, that's Jesus right there. He went up to Jesus and kissed him. Meaning that the people who will betray you in this day and time will be people that you kiss, people that you sit down to supper with, people that you thought you could trust. This is all predicted in the books, Bible, Quran, all in the books. The people you thought would hold you down are the sellouts. And I saw that clear on a video last night. You just totally erased my effort. All that I did for a situation I ain't even have to be a part of, but my heart is there. Court cases, I was there. The whole thing just erased. Because you want the attention. But that's fine. The Bible gives two stories of Judas's. One of them is where Judas gave the money back and went and hung himself. But the other one is where it says that his body parts were separated, like he just jumped off of a rock or something. The brain does not relax when you start to lie on people. Pastors and preachers and everybody just lying on people. And in closing, at 59 minutes, everything that I talk about, I go back and listen to my own words at least 3 times. Because they are for me too. Because I'm a liar too. And sometimes I think I'm better than people too. And sometimes I'm like a Judas too. So you work on yourself for the rest of your life in hopes that God will grant us mercy and understanding and patience and perseverance in our pursuit of properly representing God. I thank you all for tuning in. I hope this made sense. And I pray that you will share it and not be afraid of saying black or gay or lesbian or LGBTQ. That's the purpose is to keep you silent. And a silent person in times of trouble is just as guilty as the person who's committing the trouble. Rebellion to tyrants is obedience to God. Thank you for tuning in. Jamil Salib Zamir, Manning, South Carolina. Thank you so very much for tuning in to this month installment of the 19 Report. I am your host, Brother Johnny. I walked a thin line between right and wrong, took my fears to God, then I wrote this song. The spirit kept calling, so I answered the phone, and then I manned up and got some backbone. My mind resonates at a much higher tone, solid foundation, empire zone. 3 mountains, I'm in one, right to left counted, 9 and then 1, left to right switch it, 1 and then 9, west to east, south to north, a thin line. I know Christ exists, cause his mercy allows me a chance to stand 3 on a square. Yeah, we in there. This is Brother Johnny of Groove 19 Promotions.